Hi, this is Jessie Rasche. I wanted to show you how I paint fur. And so in the upper left-hand corner is a photograph of this lovely little monkey that was hanging out behind the glass and kind of playing with my son when we went to the zoo a few weeks ago. So
Hi.
at first I mapped in the face, and I also was getting the edges between where his face was and where the fur was, and then I wanted to get the shadows so that I could put the fur right over the shadow colors. And I always go with what I see and not what I think is possible. And so even though purple and green skin and fur seems kind of weird, it's really what I was seeing, and so I just went for it. I was trying to get the darkest colors of the shadow so I could paint right over that. And here I'm just really trying to get the monkey's face and expression. I might cut a little bit of this out. So there's all this fur around the edge of his face that's kind of disappearing into the light. And so as I'm going along, I'm trying to think about how I want that fur to fade into the light. And I'm overpainting a little bit. I use oil paints, and so they dry pretty slowly, and I can overpaint and then come back in and fuzz my edges or paint into them in 45 minutes and not worry about it drying. If I was using acrylic paint, I still would overpaint those edges, but I might come in with the background right away instead of leaving it for blur the edge between his cheek and his his sideburns. And when I look at that photograph, it's almost impossible to tell where his cheek ends and where his sideburns start, and I kind of like that. And now I'm trying to get the color of the side of his head and just kind of mapping out the major colors. I try to leave details for later. For me, it feels like when I get the details too soon, it's like icing a cake before you finish baking it. You know, if I want to move something major, but I really like my details, then I'm less likely to actually move things around, and I care a lot more about the structure than the details. Here I'm trying to get the warms and the cools right, and just make sure I'm using warms where I'm seeing warms and cools where I see cools, and that I'm going dark so there's room to add highlights. And I'm using a big flat cheap brush. It's a brush that I got for some paint parties that I do, and it's really soft, and so it's a 1-inch flat brush, and I can use it sideways to make pretty crisp lines, or I can use the flat part of it to smooth things over. And I'm just trying to get a certain amount of softness between the yellowish color and the purpley color. I have the camera set up at the bottom of my computer leaning up, so it's at a weird angle, and right now I'm painting in the top edge. I'm a little bit off screen, I was starting to work on his ear and to think about how I want the background to mingle with the monkey, so he doesn't. So it feels like it's fading in together the way I'm seeing in the photograph. And you can see I'm getting pretty dark here. I'm working on. Oh, that was a big jump. So my camera ran out of batteries and I had to recharge it up. But I painted in the meantime, the shadows that I was seeing. And you can tell I did a lot of purples and browns and a little bit of blues. And now I'm coming back with that warm yellow. And so what I was seeing was his chest was really pink. It looks like you can almost see his body a little bit through the fur, and it's kind of the same color as his face, but more subtle. And I wanted to capture that. And then over on the side, I think because of the angle we're looking at him, you don't really see his skin, and maybe the fur is thicker over there also. And so I was doing the shadows more blues and purples. And now I'm coming back with a little liner brush and painting in the little pieces of fur on top of that. And at the very end, I painted in individual pieces of fur, but I tried not to get them everywhere. I wanted to be subtle about it, to just kind of hint at where the fur is instead of showing every single piece. And I think it adds to the atmospheric effect. And then here's a photograph of what the finished painting looks like when you see it straight on. I'd love to hear your comments about the technique or the monkey, and thanks for watching. And thank you, Johnny, for this opportunity, and thank you, Caden, for video editing.